Good day, everybody. It's Michael Levitis from jurisq.com, a legal network where we not only answer your legal questions with participating attorneys, but we also digest latest news in the legal arena. And I am bringing back today an immigration attorney, Yakov Spektor. How are you, Yakov? Thank you for your time.
Hi, Michael.
And the reason why I'm bringing you today, Yakov, is because there's a big splash on the newspapers, on the front pages, on page 6 of New York Post, about the character on which Inventing Anna series of Netflix is based on. Anna Sorokina, also known as Anna Delvey. Big news about her this week. She was released from immigration custody, and she's now fighting her deportation case. So I want to digest with you, because you are an immigration attorney, this case. What are her chances? What are her hopes? Why is she in ankle bracelet? Why she spent time in ICE custody? But first, I want to spend just a minute introducing who she is, okay? Because somebody who is watching this, they may hear about her case and see how her case may also apply to their case if they're also fighting deportation, okay? So we can learn from the celebrities and apply it to regular Joe Schmoes.
Sounds good. Yeah,
Yep.
I'd love to hear about her case, actually.
Yep. Okay. So from what we know, based on what's in the press and based on Inventing Anna, series that we all watched, very hot on Netflix, there was this young lady. Originally, she was known as Anna Sorokina, originally from Russia. Then she moved with her parents to Germany. Then she came to America and reinvented herself. She became Anna Delvey. Now, she was arrested. What was her crime? Her crime was being a fake socialite, fake even baronessa. She was saying that she is an heiress to this big fortune from Germany, and based on this fortune that never existed, she should be liable and able to take loans, construction loans, acquisition loans, to buy a big commercial space in Manhattan that she would convert into some kind of an art gallery, art museum. So that was one of the crimes of which she was accused. And then along with it, there were other crimes, credit card fraud, that she, under false pretenses, made her friends pay for her lavish vacations, dinners, going out, and she never repaid them. Based on all this, there were 8 counts of various fraud, grand larceny, theft that she was convicted on, and she received a very, very harsh sentence. She received 4 to 10 years sentence. And as a matter of fact, she was not even allowed to stay out of prison during her trial. She was placed under arrest because I guess she was deemed a flight risk. And out of 10 years that they gave her, she spent almost 4, between 3 and 4 years in prison, in a state prison, which is not pretty. And I think it was a pretty harsh time for her. In my personal opinion, I think she got too much, because she never actually got any of the money that she was accused of taking, of trying to take from the bank. She never got the loans. So she still got some money, but not the millions that she was accused of. So in my opinion, she got too harsh of a sentence, but that's a separate story. But because she doesn't have a legal status in America, she doesn't have a green card, she's not a citizen, after she was released on good behavior, after 4 years, she spent only a few weeks in freedom, and she was picked up by ICE, by immigration services. And she was placed back in prison, and this time back to detention, an immigration detention. And she was there awaiting trial to see if she could stay in America or get deported. And after some time there, after a year and a half, so another year and a half in prison, in ICE custody, she was finally released on bail, on a $10,000 bail, and she's now free, pending her trial, whether or not she would stay in America. So let's digest it, because this could happen to any I believe anybody who's fighting their case to stay in America, let's draw some lessons. So first of all, Yakov, tell us, is this a regular occurrence that after spending time in prison on some kind of a charge, you can get picked up by immigration?
Well, I guess it's more regular than people think. And, this case, Anna Delvey, who was a fake socialite. And, as you said, being a fake socialite is not really a crime. It's not in the penal code. Okay, you can, maybe it's a crime in the eyes of quote unquote real socialites, but Anna Delvey was convicted of larceny and another count of, I think, attempted grand larceny. Grand larceny it's just like a regular larceny, but you're accused of stealing more than more money, more things, so to say.
More substantial.
And the attempted grand larceny that she was convicted of, obviously it was something that she she didn't succeed. But yet, if you try to do something criminal and you don't succeed, unfortunately, that doesn't mean that you get to go scot-free. You do get, you get convicted of an attempt, and that's what happened to her. And so you might think, and I don't know, Michael, I'm sure that our audience might contain a fair number of real and fake socialites, but for everyone else, you might think, well, how is this going to be relevant to my case, to my situation? Well, it might not, unless you are indeed a fake socialite. But we all, unfortunately, we all know, or we get into the situations when, an old criminal record might be something that could present a problem in the future, and especially for those of us who do not have status here. If you try to get a green card, if you try to get citizenship, a lot of people would find out that even something as small as a misdemeanor that might not have carried any jail sentence might have been grounds for the government to deny your green card or deny your citizenship. So,
yeah, as a matter of fact, Yakov, we had a whole session before on what happens if you have a criminal record, no matter how small, like you mentioned, even maybe a misdemeanor can affect your immigration case. So you better be super careful and stay away from bad crowds, bad places if you're waiting for a hearing on your immigration status, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. Forget about becoming a citizen. The government might try to deport you for something like this. And,
and that's what they're trying to do now with Anna. So what do you think? Does she have any chance after such a substantial charges of felony after spending 4 years in prison? Do you think she has a chance of getting a legal status in America?
So, well, the case is still ongoing. There is not much information, but I could parse it. I've been doing immigration law for more than 15 years.
Yeah.
It's I have had my fair share of cases when someone was fighting his or her deportation with a criminal record, and it's more common than people might think. They might serve their jail sentence or prison sentence in case of something more serious, like Anna Delvey's criminal conviction which was a felony. She had to do more than 1 year in prison. That made it a felony, and probably under the eyes of immigration law, it made she was guilty of something called an aggravated felony. Okay, that's for that's for particularly serious crimes, and grand larceny unfortunately would qualify. So you pay your debt to society. You get released from prison, maybe early, like Anna Delvey did, and then to your dismay and chagrin, you find out that you're not done yet. You get placed in an immigration jail, which is oftentimes not that much different from regular jail. Actually,
probably much worse, right?
It's pretty much the same. Federal government, oftentimes what they would do, they would simply lease space from state penitentiaries.
I see.
So essentially, you are in jail now fighting deportation.
By the way, that sounds horrible. That's very unfair. She did her time, right? She, like you said, paid her debt back to society, and then she's placed back in jail. I know it's for immigration, but still, there should be a mechanism to combine both into one.
Well, that's
my opinion.
The idea is that she's going to be getting deported. She wouldn't be spending a lot of time in jail. But if you want to fight deportation, then then the question is the government going to release you while your case is ongoing? And this is where Anna found herself in that particular predicament. As you said, she spent 17 months in immigration detention.
Yeah.
That means that she wasn't getting a bond. The government was not releasing her because they were deeming her flight risk. And it's a very interesting case because the government later on changed their mind.
Yeah, how's that? What do you think happened? Why do you think finally they said, okay, $10,000 bond and an ankle bracelet, you can go?
Well, this is actually, you could take the case and teach it to law students. Actually, if this was one of the cases that they would, maybe they would use to illustrate immigration law when I was taking immigration law in school, I would like it a little better, because immigration law is very dense, very boring, very counterintuitive.
Yeah, this is more sexy.
This is more interesting. Yes. At least there is a real live person. You see how these things work out. And unfortunately, with immigration law, simply because it's so counterintuitive, you often end up in a situation when the judge that you get, the length of time that you spend in detention, who gets to hear your bond, your request for bond, could matter a lot. One judge may think that you're a flight risk, as happened when Anna tried to get bond the first time around. And second time around, another judge decided that, hey, she's so famous that where's she going to go?
So if you were an attorney for somebody in her situation, what would you propose to a judge to convince him or her letting your client go pending this final trial?
Well, our jobs as lawyers is to essentially to put forth our client's best arguments. So, but in Anna's case, my first question was, is she actually going to be eligible for bond? Because a lot of these felonies, especially aggravated felonies, would make someone ineligible for bond. I suspect that's what happened in her case. The news articles that I've been kind of looking at, they don't have a lot of information, but a lot of her lawyers say, hey, you know what? She's not just fighting deportation; she's appealing her erroneous conviction, which means that what they're saying essentially, they're saying that maybe procedurally speaking, or maybe for any other reason, but her original criminal conviction was wrong, and so they're saying, hey, you know what? Let's keep Anna here while we are trying to work through that particular pickle, and if because if that's indeed the case, it was a great injustice that was done to her. She she did multiple years in prison. Let's not aggravate it by kicking her out of the country. Plus, she might be. It might make sense to have her here in case we need to hear from her. And if she's going to be deported to Germany, it will be just that much harder.
Makes perfect sense.
Who knows if that's actually the case? Now, if she was not from Germany, if she was, let's say, from Russia, if she was a Russian citizen, or let's say from North Korea, then you could say, hey, you know what? Even though she did commit these crimes, okay, it's not, you cannot just deport her to Russia or to North Korea where she might be killed. Okay, she did, yes, she might have stolen large sums of money, but in this country we do not punish that with a death sentence. And if she is going to be deported to North Korea, hey, that's essentially death sentence. We do not
So-
deport people so
Sure.
that they get killed.
So then she'll be asking for an asylum, basically.
Right.
Political
And
asylum.
she might not even be eligible for asylum because of her criminal conviction. So there's a lot to unpack there.
Wow.
But she is from Germany. Asylum, forget about asylum from Germany, but even her fears of potentially, getting killed in Germany, are really non-existent. The state
Right.
does protect its citizens from these kinds of exigencies. So that probably is not something that she would be successful with.
Do we have any idea on what grounds she wants to stay here in America?
Well, so one of her former lawyers, she did mention something about asylum. Incidentally, that lawyer was fired. So, I'm not sure, because it actually did, it did make me raise my eyebrows when I read about asylum.
Of course.
From Germany, that it's been a while. It's been probably, probably since 1945 since I heard about a successful asylum from Germany. But it would be interesting to see how this whole situation plays out. The takeaway for most people is that if you're not a citizen here, okay, you might be punished for something that you do criminally twice, okay, because this could have immigration consequences. Something really small and stupid that you might have done 20 years ago might have immigration consequences for you that would be as far-reaching as it was for Anna Delvey. You might spend months in jail. And who knows, if you get a good immigration lawyer, maybe he would be able to pull you out, and maybe even a good immigration lawyer wouldn't be able to help you. It all depends on your situation, and Anna's situation is just as individual as everybody else's. It would be super interesting to see what happens, and I'm sure this is the case that smart law professors are going to look at with their students.
Yeah, you know what, you bring up a very good point that today we're talking in a vacuum, so obviously not her attorney, so we can only infer so much about her case, but based on what we know from the public information that we have from newspaper articles, we can gather some information and try to come up with different scenarios for her. And what I wanted to ask you is, in this scenario where she's fighting deportation, she is out now on an ankle bracelet. Can she make money? Because she has a very large, I understand, social media following. She's now a big brand name. Thousands of people have seen Inventing Anna on Netflix. And even before that, her story was very famous because it was a very sexy story of this young lady from Russia coming to America, defrauding people, living this luxury lifestyle. So I'm sure she could make a few bucks on it by being now a real socialite, by being an influencer on social media, on Instagram, TikTok. Can she right now legally, you think, make money in America?
Well, speaking from the immigration perspective, there is no bar per se, for someone to to earn a living. Now, is it going to be kind of employment that would be specifically prohibited, under immigration law? It's hard to say. From what I understand, she was getting royalties that Netflix paid her for using her likeness in the series. And from what I read, she actually took that money and she reimbursed most of her victims. Correct. And a criminal court, not immigration court, had a lot to say about who is going to be getting reimbursed, who is not going to be getting reimbursed. I think she actually got to keep a portion of that money, which leads me to believe that she, to court satisfaction, she did reimburse her victims. And it's actually a very interesting idea. Does a criminal have a right to the earnings that stem from his criminal act? There was a large outcry, after serial killers would get paid for their likenesses used in movies, etc., etc., etc.
Or the books that they wrote. Great
or books that
expertise.
they wrote. And, you know, essentially a lot of legislatures, a lot of courts stepped in and said that, you know what, you know, that money either has to go to the victims' funds, or, you know, they flat out forbade them from,
Right.
you know, from
Yeah, I think you're right.
profiteering from their criminal act.
That's why I think she had to give a lion's share of her book earnings. I mean, not book, her Netflix earnings to reimburse her victims. Social media is a big part of what she will be doing as a such a famous person. I'm reading in New York Post that she's prohibited from social media while on this release from detention. Do you have any idea why would the judge, an immigration judge, not allow her to be on social media and Facebook and Instagram? How does that hurt U.S. Justice system, her not being on TikTok?
Especially in immigration court, I'm not quite sure what was the reasoning behind judges, you know, that particular judge's prohibition. You know, why, you know, why that particular restriction?
Have you ever seen it from any of your
unusual.
clients? Yeah, have you ever seen it? No, it's some very unusual, right? Maybe
the only thing that comes to mind is that you know, the nature of her criminal acts.
Right.
They you know, they had a lot to do with basically her impersonating someone else. You know, essentially things that we all do to a certain degree on social media. It's our digital personas.
Right.
We just don't use it. You know, we don't use it for any purpose, good or evil.
Right.
And the first time when she was denied bond, I believe the judge actually you know, wrote about, you know, the fact that she, you know, she'll just go out. There is a high probability that she'll just go out and start committing these acts again. I suspect it might have been maybe, and once again, I could be completely wrong on this, but maybe her lawyers put forth that particular, that particular restriction to the court, you know, kind of to convince the court to actually release her on the bond, because they were kind of swimming upstream here a little bit. You know, there was already one denial, so maybe they said, hey, you know what, you know, the other judge had these concerns about her, you know, using social media to perpetuate these acts. You know what, we're going to say.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Very logical. Okay, yeah. Listen, you gotta throw everything except the kitchen sink at the judge to get your client released. That's part of what.
Speaking, of course.
Yep, of course. That's part of what attorneys do, is advocating for their clients. Okay, very good. This was very interesting. And what I love about what we do here, digesting cases, is that we bring law to life. Like you said, we're making it interesting, so you can see how possibly the celebrity case could apply to your own case if you are in the same predicament, fighting deportation. Yakov Spektor, this was great. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you everybody for tuning in. And we're going to bring back Yakov again for more FAQs on immigration law and on any interesting cases that have to do with immigration law, to give us a nice digest, a simple digest in layman's terms about what is going on. Thank you so much. Until next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care, Michael.
Bye-bye.